The latest next on the war between Israel and Hamas. The fighting now into the fourth month, and the top U.S. diplomat is again warning of the potential for a wider conflict.
This is a moment of profound tension in the region. This is a conflict that could easily metastasize, causing even more insecurity and even more suffering.
That's U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken now in the United Arab Emirates. And later today, he'll be in Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are key regional players, but they appear to have stayed out at arm's length, really, from the diplomatic efforts being led thus far by the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt. Trent Murray is going to cover the story for us. He's live in Tel Aviv this hour. Antony Blinken, Trent, has been meeting regional leaders, as I said, in the UAE right now, on to Saudi Arabia, and then into Israel tomorrow. After those Arab meetings, what message do we expect he'll be taking into Israel tomorrow?
Yeah, well, good morning, Heather. They are not easy conversations that he is having, in Secretary Blinken's own words, as he crisscrosses this region, Washington working desperately to try and dial down the tensions here. We know there are really three main threads as part of these conversations he's having with regional players. The first is the immediate situation in Gaza. Multiple reporting and readouts from foreign ministry suggest that there's real pressure on Washington to pressure Israel to announce a ceasefire as the death toll there just continues to climb. And so we expect he will bring that message from the likes of Egypt and Qatar and Jordan here to Tel Aviv when he arrives. We also know the future of Gaza has been high on the agenda. Washington and Israel has signalled it would like to see some of those other regional players play a stronger role in helping rebuild Gaza and also govern it into the future. But one red line for the Israelis is that that technocratic government, if it was to be set up, it just cannot involve Hamas. Some of those Arab countries, though, are saying that that is unrealistic. And then I think the third and probably most concerning one right now for many diplomats in this region is the possibility of this conflict expanding, in particular on that northern border between Israel and Lebanon. It has been a little bit quieter there today in terms of Hezbollah rockets, but we do know the IDF has said it's launched airstrikes on southern Lebanon in response to a flurry of rockets that we saw over the weekend, including several which damaged a radar station at an Israeli army base in the north of the country.
Trent, it doesn't appear that Israel yet made the shift from an all-out offensive into Gaza. So what do we know about the status of the fighting as this week begins?
Well, the Israelis are saying it's been another night of intensive fighting, this time in the southern part of the Gaza Strip around Khan Yunis. They say they launched 30 strikes on what they said were significant Hamas targets, including buildings being used by the group, the underground tunnel network, weapons depots and the like. But we know as well that that is still causing major concern for UN agencies, given that that fighting is taking place right where civilians have evacuated to. And the WHO is also putting out a fresh warning this morning, saying it's now been 12 days since they've been able to travel north to get desperately needed medical supplies to people up there. They say today they've just had to cancel yet again an urgent delivery because of safety concerns. But despite that, the Israelis are starting to signal that we may be about to see a shift in the war. Yoav Gallant, the defence minister here, has told the Wall Street Journal overnight that the IDF is preparing to move away from what he calls intense manoeuvring phase of this war to different types of special operations. Israeli media have asked his office this morning when exactly that will happen. The response from the Defence Ministry was, quote, soon.
Trent, thank you so much. Trent Murray live from Tel Aviv this morning. Now, the news outlet Al Jazeera is leveling an accusation at the Israeli military, claiming that its journalists were deliberately targeted in an airstrike in Gaza. Al Jazeera says 2 of those journalists were killed, and as Katie Simpson reports, one of the reporters is a member of a Palestinian family that has already been shattered by this war.
Well, Al-Dadu reaches for his eldest son's hand one last time. A journalist, just like his dad, the 27-year-old was killed by an Israeli airstrike while traveling by car near Rafah. One other journalist was killed when their vehicle was hit. This family was already in mourning. Al-Dadu lost his wife, another son and daughter, and a grandson, all killed in a separate Israeli airstrike in October. The world must see with their eyes and not with Israel's eyes, he says. It must listen and watch all that is happening to the Palestinian people.
That reporting from Katie Simpson. Now, in a statement to BBC News, the Israeli military says the airstrike was targeting, quote, a terrorist operating an aircraft that threatened Israeli troops. The statement adds 2 other suspects were killed.